GearNetwork.com. This is a Gear Network production.
Say, Jarvis, is it that time?
The house party protocol, sir?
Correct.
This is one party that just has to turn out right.
My name is Rod, and I like to party.
Why do you want to listen to the TV with the stereo on?
Because I like to party.
I would like to extend to you an invitation to the pants party.
Brick, are you saying that there's a party in your pants and that I'm invited?
That's it.
Hello, I'm Rico, and I like to party.
Okay, nobody parties but me.
Yes. And we party.
No.
Yeah, just Rod.
Yes.
And me.
No. I'm the only one who parties.
Welcome back to the HPP, yeah, you know me, the House Party Podcast. I am your host, Marc Hauss, and this week we sit down and have a conversation with someone that you know as Gabreal Soul. Before we get into that, I'd like to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors. First, starting off with American Villain. Great prices, great service, and great clothing. Go check them out at 1868 East Main Street in Rochester, New York, or go to AmericanVillainApparel.com. And next, I'd like to give a shout out to Amazon Prime. If you go to GearNetwork.com and you click on the Amazon Prime trial, you'll get 30 days free to check it out. And that includes 2-day shipping and a video streaming service that includes some of my favorite shows from the 90s and Nickelodeon. And now that we're done with that, let's move on, and you can listen to my conversation that I had with Gabreal Soul. And I'm here today, and graced with the presence of a man I've known for a long time, but haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk to in a while, and that's Gabreal Soul. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, I maintain and keep my head above water.
Yeah. You here at UPW? It's been a long time. Is this like a debut for you, or is this a long time coming?
I'm trying to think. Because I think I worked one UPW show. I think I did work at UPW Battle Royal already before.
Yeah?
So this will be my second one, yeah.
How'd you do in that first one?
Yeah, the first one, I was real, I came up short.
Came up a little short?
Came up super short.
I can probably guess why.
Why is that?
Because Gabe Saint's here, and I heard there was lots of stories back in the day when I was around, and when you first changed your name to Gabreal Soul. What were you before then?
I wasn't. I started as Gabreal Soul.
Oh, you've only been around for a while. You baby.
I've only been around this is 6 years coming up.
That's enough.
Yeah, this is 6 years right now.
But I remember that. I remember when you and Gabe Saint, that was a big thing, because Gabe Saint's been around forever.
Yes.
And then you decided to use the name Gabriel.
Yes.
But there was a spelling that was a little different. One was real and one was Rael.
Right.
And there was a huge problem. And I remember because you were real humble about it and you weren't trying to cause problems, but everybody was stirring the pot. And then
everybody was stirring the pot.
Trying to rile people up. And then is that probably why the reason you didn't last very long on the UPW Battle Royal?
Probably so. That was a very interesting issue. Basically what happened is when I started training, I didn't know anything about independent wrestling in the area. I didn't know anything at all about it. So when I decided to pick a name, and I'm going through a name, I was actually going to team up with another guy, and we were going to be called Heart and Soul. And it was going to be more of a British type of gimmick.
Yeah, who was Heart? Who was it going to be?
It was Nasty Nick Nice, actually.
Yeah, Nasty Nick Nice Heart?
Nasty Nick Nice was going to be Michael Hart, and I was going to be something Soul. We didn't know what it was.
I think I already know Mike Hart. I think he wrestles in Canada.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we were on his own belt.
Yeah, so we were doing the whole Heart and Soul thing. We were going to do it. Like I said, we were just practicing. And I couldn't think of a name that went with Soul. And one of the wrestlers there gave me the name of Gabriel. And it just rang. It was a Gabreal Soul. I'm like, it's freaking phenomenal. I love it.
Plus, you're a religious man.
Yeah,
Gabriel's a nice name for the religious folk.
Exactly, exactly. That and that's why it rang bells in my head. So I loved it, and I stuck with it. Like I said, I didn't know anything about the Western New York independent area, and what happened was, when I found out about it, and they told me there's another wrestler named Gabreal Saint, I was like, okay, I'll change my name. Spoke to a couple of people. They said, you don't have to change your name. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay, not a problem. So, long story short, I got an email from Gabe Saint. And he kind of went in, He just completely went in, and he was like, "Yo, I seen your stuff. You're horrible. Change your name. Don't try and piggyback off of me. We have it tough in this business as it is right now, being black, and you trying to copy me isn't a good thing, And I didn't know him from a can of paint, and I responded back, basically, like I said, and like you said, I was humble about it. I was very humble about it, and I said, "Dude, I don't know who you are. I didn't know anything about it. I was given this name, but you approaching me like this over the internet is, it doesn't ring bells, or it doesn't show respect." So we went back and forth. He took that as aggression, which it was kind of aggression. But we went back and forth, and it got to a point where everybody knew about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it was a hot topic conversation for a while.
It was a hot topic in Buffalo and Rochester because we never met each other. Every single time we tried to meet up or something happened, something would happen and one of us wouldn't meet. However, we finally met at ESW, and I pulled him to the side, and man to man, we talked about it and said, "You know what, dude?" I said, "It wasn't my fault. I didn't know anything about Western New York wrestling. Somebody gave me the name and didn't tell me that there was a Gabreal Saint out there. And they knew there was a Gabreal Saint out there because they worked with you, prior. So they knew this. So it wasn't a rib, more or less. It was something that was, I feel, done intentionally, But me and Saint talked about it, and he said,
stirring the pot and trying to cause problems, but then two adults come together and talk, and the issue is squashed.
Exactly. And Saint is one of my boys.
It was like was it that time? Remember me and Generico? Ever hear about that story?
No, I didn't hear about that story.
When I was in RCW, way back in the day, I was Mark Krieger, but they also wanted a mask guy. So I was like, I'll be somebody. And they remember, you ever heard of the name Elsimar?
Elsimar, no.
Elsimar was Mookie. But he came out as Elsimar, and then they were like, we need somebody. And the whole idea was originally I wanted to change Elsimar's name to El Specifico, and I was going to be El Generico. And we were going to be the L's. Mm-hmm. And then the only way that I would be cut off as a face would be to have something specific and something fancy done to me. And the only thing that would screw him up is basic moves, and there was going to be a comedy act.
Right.
So I was El Generico. At this time, I didn't know that there was an El Generico because, again, it was like in the same position you were. I was like 6 months in.
Right.
And I remember I was told at one point it was done in Marcos, but I can't confirm or deny that. But I got, contacted by El Generico, Sami Zayn now for all you people. Right. And basically asked me to stop using the gimmick. So RCW stopped using it, but they did like the whole thing like La Parka. I went to El Generic instead of El Generico, so it was like LA Park. But I kept the mask for some reason. It was always in my bag. It was super tiny, and I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Plus, I'm like, maybe it might give me an opportunity to get booked somewhere. Right. And one day I was at this show called Wayne-A-Mania. It was APW, Action Pack Wrestling Vermont. I showed up with Maximo, and there's a guy named Kyle Durden that used to do backstage interviews for Ring of Honor. We became friends after a while, and he walked over to Generico, and he's like, "Hey, bud, remember that guy that did the El Generico gimmick you didn't like?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the guy started getting a little upset, and he goes, "That's the guy," and pointed me. I was like, "Wow!" And we talked for like 30 minutes. Figured it out and understood that I was just a naive kid that didn't know any better, and it's not my actual gimmick. And he understood, and I apologized to him, and we squashed it. And then I still have this day. I have it at my house, and I'll have to take a picture and put it up online. But it's me and him with our masks on.
Wow,
together.
That's awesome.
Hilarious.
That is awesome.
But moving on from that, I understand exactly what that is. So you said you started training. They gave you a name. Where did you start training?
I trained at OSPW.
Yeah. They had a school?
No, I didn't have a school.
Or it was just kind of like in between shows?
It was in between shows.
Okay.
It was in between shows and before shows. We trained in the backyard. We set the ring up. It was in the ring. It was clearly in a wrestling ring.
So you're like in that purgatory from backyard to actual school?
Yeah, exactly. We actually set the ring up. We actually used the same ring that, we used for shows. Yeah. So we set the ring up, set the ropes up, and we trained. I trained with Deacon, and I trained with Trip. I trained with Shadowcat. It was just a plethora of different training, aspects, different training perspectives. Yeah. Of course, you don't learn everything, and you can't learn everything. No. You're always learning in this business.
That's one thing is that nowadays, and this isn't direct correlation to your training, but just in general, it's so hard because it's hard to find good, decent training because you have a lot of guys that
play wrestler.
They come in, go to a training school for like 6 months, think that they understand it, then go off and open their own school, and it weeds down. So you have something like a reputable school like WWE's training facility, and then the guy gets let go from developmental, and he opens a school, and then some guy comes in and trains with him for 6 months, and then goes, I went to a school because this guy was in NXT or was in WWE, and then it whittles down, and then you get a school where it's like there's 17 dudes that's wrestled a combined total of 30 matches over 2 years, and they're training guys, and it frustrates me, and that's why, like, at least even for myself, I was trained by a lot of guys. I was trained by a lot of guys that had either no right or didn't know enough. And then I ended up going to seminars, and even now being 11 years in, I still try to. Yeah. And I know you do too. I see you at seminars, and I see you going around getting perspective from a bunch of different people because you never stop learning. But that's where you get the guys nowadays in the indie wrestling that just, they're fanboys for themselves, and they don't actually want to wrestle.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing with
the indie fanboys. That should be the name.
indie fanboys. With opening up a school, I mean, you do get the people that have touched a little bit of that brass ring, have touched just a tiny bit, just to say they touched it.
Some of them don't even touch the brass ring. Some of them just to giving a boost to another person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and they come out and then they train. And they may know a little bit. They may know this. They may know that. But then
the smoke clears.
And then the smoke clears. And then the people that they train feel as though they can train somebody because the person that trained them touched the WWE sign. Yep. And now I'm trained.
And that's why you got to do your research when you go to schools.
Exactly.
So when I was training too, like you got to that point where you go to different places. I ended up training, and I met up with Colin Delaney and had to train with him because it was one of those things where he's been up there, but he knows enough. To be able to get you that next step. To get you out there. But
Colin is phenomenal. Simply phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? He's great. And I took a Colin Delaney seminar, and what he taught was he taught the psychology, but he broke it down to a point where he did a whole match with us, and you didn't even know it was a match until the end of the seminar. He said, "Here, do this step. Here, do this step. This is why you do this. This is why you do that." And he said, "You know what, guys? I just gave you a whole entire match. Put it all together." Yep. And we put the whole entire match together, and it was a match, and it made sense.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So he teaches without even teaching you that you're being taught.
That's what I'm saying. It's simple stuff, too, because nowadays I feel, I mean, there's a lot of psychology, but the general starting point is a lot of schools will be like, oh, here's how you bump. Now here's some moves. You're good. But they never explain the whys or the hows and like little things. Like for instance, I always ask a lot of people this, like a drop down. What's the point of a drop down? Is it an offensive or defensive maneuver?
It's an offensive maneuver. You're trying to trip your person.
Yep.
You're trying to trip the person.
And most people are like, I'll just do it to do it.
No, not at all.
But those are like those little things that you have to really understand and get, because I think a lot of times now is that when you watch a lot of matches, psychology doesn't make sense and the fans get bored. Why do the fans get bored? Because you're not giving them a story, because you think just by doing moves, you are entertaining them. When in all reality, there's only a couple places in the world that can do that. But even then, they have psychology.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, and psychology, I feel, though, psychology is a lost art in the business. I mean, and it shouldn't be, because it is the business. It's the reason why we wrestle. It's the reasoning why, John Cena doesn't like, or not John Cena, but it's the reason why Rusev doesn't like John Cena. It brings the whole match together. It tells that story. But people want to get in there and do, okay, let's do this spot, let's do that spot, let's do this spot. And spots shouldn't matter. It should be because the reasoning behind the wrestling.
Plus, the hard thing is you go to shows now and you watch them, and you get the guys, the grizzled vets that have been around 13 or 14 years, and they get the biggest reaction. Like, for instance, I watched a match last show. It was Jock Sampson and Colin Delaney here at UPW.
Awesome.
And I think they took a handful of bumps apiece, but the first 5 or 10 minutes was just nothing. It was just playing to the crowd.
Yep.
And then you had a match on before it that had 50 moves in like 6 minutes, and people were on there sitting on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's really about it. Like it's hard sometimes because it's I don't know. People don't get to that point of telling a good story. They think moves will do it, and it doesn't. People want to see content.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. I mean, when let's take this for instance. When there's a fist fight, a true fist fight, when you're talking about the fight, what else are you talking about? Well, why are they fighting? Well, he said this about his mama. He said this about his mama. His girlfriend did it, and he slept with his girlfriend.
And that's the thing.
It's that whole story.
People don't realize that because, like, I'll watch MMA here and there, and I enjoy watching MMA, but I don't get into it as much as I want. Like, even that, what is it? The Mayweather-Pacquiao. Mm-hmm. The reason why they were able to pay them, 120 and 180 million apiece, and why they had $100 pay-per-views, and why it was the biggest thing. I'm not a huge fan of boxing,
right?
But I understood the story because they built it up, and I wanted to tune in and watch. Exactly. I mean, I didn't get a chance to, but I wanted to tune in, and it worked everybody and just danced around and did nothing. But it's one of those things where it's like that was the story. If it was just those two guys and there's no build-up behind it, other than those are the two best guys, they couldn't get $100. No, you couldn't.
And that's the thing, and that's where it comes back to pro wrestling. You have to have a reason and a reasoning behind it in order to keep the fans entertained, to keep you on your toes. You have to be.
You have to keep yourself entertained.
Yeah,
if you're just doing moves, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anybody can do moves. Anybody in the world can do moves. Mm-hmm. Anybody in the world that's strong enough can do a body slam. But to put a body slam in a position where it makes sense is what the people want to see.
Or you see it nowadays. I love it. It's like lockup, chair shot, 5 minutes of wrestling, then hammerlock. And you're like, wait a minute. Let's start at the end and go to the beginning.
Let's just start at the end.
Let's Benjamin Button this match.
And then let's eat our salad.
Yeah. So we're Benjamin Buttoning the match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We start off backwards.
Speaking of Benjamin Button, it's funny because today's my birthday.
Yeah?
And
what are you, 75?
I am, exactly. I don't look it, though.
That's 75, yeah.
That's the key.
75 going on toddler?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I get that all the time.
Well, you probably had to age like 30 years just in the car right up. Who'd you drive with? Wasn't it like Trip?
It was me, Trip, Xavier Fate, and my personal referee, Pat G.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? He referees everything? Make sure that your agent goes right down the middle?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you probably aged 20 years in just the drive.
Right, exactly.
It's rough with them.
But I don't look it, though. That's the key word. I don't look it.
So where are you working then? Where are you wrestling? Tell the whole world where they can see you.
Right now, I am at OSPW. I am at IYFW in Albany, New York, Duanesburg. I'm trying to think, where else am I?
What are you doing in those two places? Let's start there.
Right now, OSPW, I am tag teaming with the Son of Thunder Deacon.
Yeah.
We have a feud with the IndyCard Mafia, Xavier Fate, and Eric Emanon.
Breaking the fade, man.
I know. The ESPN broke the fade already.
Driving with them? Why are you driving with them?
Listen, ESPN already broke the fade, remember?
Out of the two, which one's the Sheik and which one's Duggan?
I would say Trip is Sheik.
No. It's out of you and Fate because you two are feuding.
Oh, that is right. I would say that
which one's Iranian and which one's white?
I guess I'm the white guy.
You Duggan?
I get that all the time. I guess I'm Duggan.
A piece of wood and you're he's the Sheiky baby.
And at IYFW, I am tagging with my tag team partner Jamar Justice, and we are the Knockout Gang.
Double J. You're wrestling with Jeff Jarrett?
No.
Double J.
No, it's not Double J.
Jeff Jarrett.
No, it's Double J, Jamar Justice. Yeah. We were just tag team champions.
Is he just as good as Jeff Jarrett?
He is. He's even better than Jeff Jarrett. I actually interviewed Jeff. Did you listen to my interview with Jeff Jarrett?
No.
You did not.
No, I didn't.
I interviewed Jeff Jarrett, Buff Bagwell, and Stevie Richards.
Man, you got to pick those names up.
I'm not picking those names up. I dropped them on purpose.
I know it's your birthday, but
I dropped them on purpose.
Well, you heard it here. He's a name dropper, but I'll pick it up for him. And then I'm going to send it to him his next birthday. And
he really did pick him up, ladies and gentlemen. He really did pick him up and put him in his pocket, not mine.
I got to save those for later. Just kidding. But so when's the next shows and where can they see you? Where is...
Right now, the next show, May 23rd, is IYFW in Duanesburg.
Yeah? What do you got there?
I got a tag match. I believe I have a tag match. I don't know as of yet. I know me and Jamar Justice are...
doing some things?
We are doing some things. We are actually fighting and arguing with the commission right now because our tag team titles were lost in a technicality of a team that was not a contender, and we lost the titles to them, and we are kind of pissed about that. So we want to
technicality. You lost to a team.
Technicality.
You lost to a team.
We didn't actually lose. The other team lost. but it wasn't. It was a one-on. It was a tag team match and turned into a triple threat tag team match when it shouldn't have. This team was interjected in, and it shouldn't have been.
Who was it?
It was the Northern Fury, Big Vigo, and Dan Richards.
Love me some Big
Dan
Vigo.
Richards. No, Sergeant Dan.
I love Big Vigo.
Vigo's awesome. He's
like
a cool
a big
dude.
teddy bear.
He's a very scary teddy bear.
He gives nice hugs.
Yeah.
That was creepy.
And
OSPW.
OSPW is May 30th.
Yep.
That is in Cheektowaga, New York, at the Leonard Post on Walden Avenue.
Yeah.
And it is a series, three match series. We already up 1-0 against the IndyCar Mafia.
Yeah. Are they the tag champs or you guys?
No, we're not. This is for the number one contender match.
Oh, who's the
number one
tag
contenders?
champs?
No, tag champions are now Babyface Fire, Chris West and Mikey Everynight, the brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are doing big things. They are a crowd. They get the crowd hot.
They get them hot?
They get the crowd hot.
Maybe they should stop burning people.
Listen, they do what
Running
they do.
out with lighters and just burning people?
If they don't wear protection,
rough.
that's their fault.
Get a little hot from that. It burns a little.
Yeah, just a little
ouch. And Chris West is a big boy, too. You don't want to get burned from him.
Nothing penicillin can't fix.
So one of the last questions I always ask everybody, because I'm curious. Because I figure from hearing it from a lot of people and also getting the general direction of where it's going, it gives me hope with independent wrestling, professional wrestling. What is the biggest thing that you would change about independent wrestling today?
The prima donnas. There's too many prima donnas in wrestling. Too many prima donnas in the locker room. I'll give you, for instance, I was on a card and I was slated to win. I came into the room. I saw the card. I was winning, and I came back 20 minutes later. My opponent came up, and it was switched to my opponent was winning, which made no sense to me whatsoever. But I feel as though the opponent complained and whined, cried because they were losing. So it's interesting to see that prima donnas need to stop, and this was in, where was I at? Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but how do you change that? How do you fix that?
You really can't fix it unless you tear down.
But you're booker for a day. It's your company. And you have to take over a company that has this going on. How do you fix it and change it?
That's a whole nother podcast, because I would love to do that.
No. We can do this for a few minutes here. We can fix it for a little while.
How do you fix it?
We can always come back for part 2.
You fix it by staying stern. You fix it by standing your ground. You fix it by knowing that this is a business. Okay? If it's something where, if you go into your shoot job and you tell your boss, yo, I don't think I want to do this today. I want to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. Your boss is going to look at you like, all right, sure. You can go home. We're not doing it this way. This is the way it's done. This is the way it's going to be. You don't just automatically make changes that way. You don't make changes because you don't like it. You don't make changes because you feel as though you've been here long enough to make changes. No, this is a business, and this is how it goes. With pro wrestlers, I feel as though they throw their weight around when it comes to winning and losing, which doesn't matter in pro wrestling. I feel as though they throw their weight around with every issue that they can, should I say. So with that, it's all about the promoter or the booker being stern. This is how it goes. This is the way the storyline's going to happen. If it doesn't make sense, then of course, it needs to be changed. But if it makes sense, I'm not going to change it just for the simple fact that you're upset by it. If you're upset by it, then pull your big boy panties up and get the hell out of the business.
That's true, because it is a business. I think people forget that. I think people treat it as, I don't know, amateur hour, leisure hour, and it's a place to go and fanboy out again, but instead of actually making money and enjoying yourself, because 1, you want to make some money. 2, you want to make the fans happy.
Yeah, exactly.
You do what you got to do. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. At the end of the day, I think my career, I think I've lost much more than I've won. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do anything, because at the end of the day, I go home and I'm the same person whether I win or lose.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's my take on it.
Cool. Is there anywhere we can check you out and and get a hold of you?
You can. My Facebook page, Gabreal Jones /Gabreal Soul. You can Get me for
spell
bookings.
Gabreal Saint? Or I'm just kidding.
Dang,
I'm just messing.
Gabriel.
Can you spell out Gabreal Soul for me?
Gabreal Soul, Gabriel. Last name Jones on Facebook. You can get at me at my email address for bookings, Gabriel _Soul, Gabriel _Soul at AOL.com. And Twitter, Gabreal Soul, the Gabreal Soul. Where else am I? I think that's all.
You on Instagram?
I am on Instagram under the Gabreal Soul again. Forgot about that. And yeah, get at me. Bookings, let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day.
Not a problem. Thank you, sir.
All right, party's over. Everyone go home.
So who are you, man?
Shit! I'm the party pooper.
Now, let's think back. What made this party such a good one? What do we want to do next time?
They're begging us. Please have a party. Feed us drinks. Get us laid. Ow!
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez here, telling you about FanDuel's one-day fantasy baseball leagues. Every day you pick the player you want, you can pick a whole team and play for real money against other users. FanDuel has over 20,000 one-day leagues, so joining in is never an issue. Also, there's no daily commitment, so you play whenever you want. The best part? Over $2 million in prizes every single day. And if you sign up through GearNetwork.com/FanDuel, you help support the network and keep this podcast free.
Hey Don, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America, that one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that...
And a little of what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Dawn, is a real humdinger.
Humdinger.
Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America, exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I am Ryan Wolf.
It's Mr. Perez.
And I have a question for you, Perez.
What's your question?
Do you like to listen to people talk about sports?
No. Of course I like sports and listening to people talk about sports.
Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution for you.
Solution for me?
There's a podcast on this very network.
This network?
Every single week you can hear it.
Really?
New content, latest and breaking news. We talk about baseball, football, hockey, basketball, soccer, UFC, whatever you want to talk about.
So sports in general.
They talk about sports in general. You got it.
I like it.
You know the dictionary.
I like it.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I must say, tune in. We are better live than dead.
You're not.
Every single week. You're not going to want to miss it. Exclusively here on the Gear Radio Network.